Hello everyone, welcome again to Dr. Tom. Guys, in the today's session, we will talk about innate immunity and it is a part 2 of lecture 1. So as I have discussed already that the lecture 1 would be the basics lecture and we will cover the basic of immunology and that would be helpful for beginners who are beginning their career in immunology as well as for those who are experienced. So let's start the discussion on innate immunity today. Well, when we use a word called innate immunity, what do we mean by the term called innate immunity? Innate is actually which is inborn, so it has another name which is inborn, and you will realize just in a minute that why I'm using these terminologies. So it is also called as inborn immunity. The same is also called as non-specific immunity. Okay, coming to the question why. Well, say a pathogen is there, or just before I'll jump to the conclusion directly, let me tell you that we have in our surrounding, we have billions pathogens. We have a lot of pathogens. There are the pathogens which are able to cause us disease, but all the time we are not sick. We are not fall sick all the time. So the credit goes to, of course, the innate or rather immunity, or rather the immune system. In the last lecture we have discussed that immunity can be of two types. It can be of innate immunity, it can be of acquired immunity. And what is innate immunity? Let me directly now coming to the discussion. Innate immunity is that immunity which is present from the birth, right? So the immunity, simple, that is a definition only. So the immunity which is present from birth, which is present from birth, that is the first thing. Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example that what all the things we would understand under the innate immunity. Say any pathogen is coming. Any pathogen means any pathogen. It could be a virus, it could be a bacteria, it could be a fungi. Say let's make acute bacteria. Say that is a acute bacteria we have, right? So it's acute bacteria, and say this acute bacteria want to invade our body. So what the first thing we offer to this bacteria? The first thing what we offer to the bacteria is our skin, right? So we have our skin, we have dark keratinized skin. So the bacteria has to complete a one task. First of all, it has to cross this barrier, and this is nothing but a skin. This is nothing but a skin, right? Okay, let's talk about, say, a virus. Or rather, a virus is coming in. Suppose a virus want to invade our cell, then a virus has also face to this barrier. A virus has to face this barrier as well. That means skin, you can think like that, that it is a one of the common barrier what we have, right? So I mean to say, we'll talk about other aspects also of the innate immune system. But what about this skin? This skin offering a barrier to all the kind of pathogen. So that is why the name is there, which is non-specific. So why non-specific immunity? I'm sure now you are able to get it, that why innate immunity refers to as non-self or non-specific, not non-self exactly. It is non-specific immunity, because we are not offering something which is specific for either a bacteria or a virus or a fungi or a protozoan. No, we are offering a barrier. Our body is offering a barrier to all the kind of pathogen, no matter it is a bacteria, it is a virus, or it is a other pathogen, or either it is a allergen, any other particle of dust and anything. So we are offering a first line of barrier. So this is why, that is why I'm using the word what we call as non-specific. Hence the innate immunity is non-specific. Why it is called as inborn? Let me tell you very first thing, that you have skin from the time you are in the world. So that's why it is, because it is present from the birth of the person. That is why it is called as inborn. So let me write it here, because this immunity, and yes, this is immunity. Immunity is anything which is protecting us from any pathogen or from foreigners, right? So because this is present from birth of a person, right? You can consider your city like your body, and around the city, if you can recall in the earlier times, on the kingdoms, outside the kingdom there are very big wall. So why do the kings of the particular kingdom, they make the thick and a heavy build wall, so that the foreign cannot invade the country. The foreign, any other soldier of the foreign country cannot invade the country. Similarly, in our body we are offering this physical barrier, right, which is a skin. So now the question is, that is the only skin which is present? Do we have only the skin which is present? So answer is no. Let me talk about that, what all the kind of innate barrier we provide, right? So first of all, let's talk about this, right? Let's talk about one by one, that all the kind of innate barrier we offer to a pathogen. So one thing we understood is that innate immunity, we have to characterize it. So one thing what we understood is that it is present from the birth. So first thing is that it is present from birth. If we have to correct write the characteristic of innate immune system, so present from birth, it is known as specific. So it is known specific. So my pen is not working, I think so. So it is known as specific because it present a barrier to every kind of pathogen, no matter the pathogen is a bacteria, the pathogen is a virus, or the pathogen is a protozoan. Any pathogen means any pathogen, hence it is known as specific, right? Third thing is that it is present from the birth, it is known as specific. And what all the barriers are innate immune system give us? So we have the different kind of barriers. What are the different kind of barriers? Let me talk about, let me discuss. So say we have the skin. So skin is the first line of barrier, right? You can think about it that skin is a first line of defense. First line of defense we have, which is our skin, right? We will come back to the slide again, but let me give you the scenario of the skin, that how skin protect us, right? So we are talking about now the first line of barrier, and hope I'm not hiding this picture. So let me check it out once, and yes, I'm hiding. So let me hide myself for a minute and then we'll come back. Okay, so we are now good. So it is the first line of the barrier. What skin providing us is the first line of barrier. Now you can think about it, guys. You can think about it that it is an anatomical barrier, right? It is one of the anatomical barrier. Skin is one of the anatomical barrier, and we can also say that we are talking about anatomical barrier, and in the anatomical barrier we can say that we have two kind of barriers. We have a skin and we have mucous membrane. So we have mucous membrane and we have the skin as well, right? So these are the first line of barrier we have. Now the question is that how skin protect us? So say any pathogen, let's say a bacteria is there. So if a bacteria is there, a bacteria has to cross the skin. Even suppose if there is a virus, say it is a happy virus. Why the virus is happy? Because virus is thinking that the virus can invade our skin, but now the virus is sad because virus is unable to do so, right? So that is the first thing. That is why it is called as anatomy, first line of defense. Because no matter whatever the pathogen we have, we are offering skin as a barrier, right? So that's how we can say that under the innate immunity, skin and mucous membrane both acting as a what we call as barrier, first line of barrier. But now I have a question. I have a question, guys, and I think that I have to address this question because it is very important. What about the areas which have openings? Now we have openings at certain places. Say nasal opening. We have nasal orifice, nasal opening. You know There is a urethral opening. There is urethral opening. There is a mouth. We have means buccal cavity, mouth, vaginal opening. What about these openings? What about these reproductive organ openings and openings which are there on the other organs? And what about if, say, if there is any cut is there in the skin, if the skin is cut, then what we can offer to the pathogen, let's see, and that we will classify under second line of barrier, right? So now after the first line of barrier, of course, we have a second line of barrier, and let me come back again for some time, right? So yeah, so after the first line of barrier, we have the second line of barrier. But what is the second line of barrier? Let's see. We have discussed that mucous membrane, right? So we discussed that, okay, mucous membrane help us to protect against the pathogen. Let me give an example to you. We have vex in our ear, right? So if I talk about even this is in pinna, and then it has auditory canal, and in the auditory canal, which is also called as auditory meatus, we have what is the ceruminous glands. So the glands secrete the secretion, we have hairs here, again the physical barrier, right? In the nose we have mucus here as well. In the eye we have the mucus. That is the way is the first line of defense is working. Let's now talk about the second line of defense. I hope you are enjoying the lectures. So second line of defense, let's talk about it. Say a pathogen enters in the body. Then how can we offer a barrier? So let me give you an idea. Our body has some enzymes, not some enzyme, we have again millions and millions of enzymes. We are in a condition of homeostasis. Homeostasis means we are in a condition of balanced, right? Everything is going normal. Why? Because our enzymes are working well, our metabolism is working well, our metabolic reactions are working well. Suppose if for some reason, if we change that conditions in which our enzymes can't work well, what do you think? So probably if the enzyme will alter, if the reaction will alter, then the body physiology will definitely alter, and we can't maintain the homeostasis, and that's why we will feel a particular problem. Similarly, suppose a pathogen is there. A pathogen is also a living entity. So to maintain the homeostasis inside the pathogen, a pathogen has to maintain all the conditions well. But suppose a pathogen enters in our body, suppose, for say, right? What we can offer the second resistance, we can change the pH, right? So we'll talk about from the mouth itself, right? So say a pathogen comes from the mouth, right? So what we can do, we offer some barriers. Say the one of the barrier is the secretion, so enzymes. Now let me talk about you what I mean to say from this point. So we have one of the enzymes, say lysozyme. Now these discussions are basics and very, very important, right? Trust me, if you have a very good command over these topics, at least in the basics, you can help a lot to your patient, and you can help yourself in understanding the patient problems, right? And of course these discussions would help you on the hospital floor too. Well, so what is lysozyme? So lysozyme is an enzyme which causes lysis. So it causes lysis, right? Say if we pour this enzyme on a bacteria, trust me, a bacteria will die. This is because this enzyme causing the rupturing of the cell wall. Or we can also say that this enzyme inhibit the cell wall formation in case of bacteria, and hence it restrict the reproduction of bacteria, means the a bacterial growth, we can say. So we can prevent the bacterial growth by the action of lysozyme. One more question is there. Do we have lysozyme? Answer is yes. We do have lysozyme. So it is found in the saliva secretion. It is found in the saliva secretion. It is found in the tears. Yes, we have tears. Yeah, we actually, produce tears all the time, 24 hours, and that is necessary. that is necessity as well. We will talk about it more, that from where these secretions comes. Actually, we have a lacrimal gland. So from the lacrimal gland, the tears comes out, and during some behavioral stimulus or due to some other stimulus, sometimes the production of these tears is much more, and that's why they trickle down on the surface. Otherwise, we are producing these tears 24 hours, and these are actually draining, from the pore we have actually. So we'll talk about the eye anatomy as well and physiology, don't worry, right? So this is the second, the tears, they are present in the tears. They are other than the tears, they are present in the sweat as well. The lysozyme is present in the sweat, so what do I want to tell you, that say we are eating a lot of kind of different kind of foods, we are having a very good delicious food, say a burger, or say chili chow mein or a chili noodles. So I'm sure that if we are taking some street food in the street, then dust particles are always there, bacteria are also there. Even if we are eating the food at our home, a lot of pathogen is there in that food as well. But are we really fall sick? Answer is no. Why? Because even in our saliva has this enzyme. This enzyme causes the death of the bacteria within the mouth, as you know. And similarly, we have tears. You can think about it that our eyes is directly in the contact of air. So we have a lot of pathogens inside the air, and we are, regularly, there is a contact of the pathogen with our tears as well, and in the eyes. And these enzymes which are there in the tears helping us, from that pathogens. Sweat also, so it is also present in the sweat. So the pathogen which is there in the skin, they actually dies, or rather bacteria. Lysozyme is an bactericidal enzyme, so more appropriately I should write that it is a bactericidal enzyme. Yes, right. Well, so only we have enzymes, can't we do anything else? So yes, we can do a lot of things. A change in pH. What is the pH of your stomach? Tell me. So the pH of your stomach is highly acidic. It is because of HCl, and from where the HCl comes? Oxantic cell, right? It is important for you to being a medical student. You must know that what are the cells which are what are producing HCl. So pH, a change in pH. Say we talk about the in stomach. Let's talk in stomach. So the stomach, it has a low pH. We have a low pH. We have a low pH. Now, in that much low pH, actually enzymes can't work well. Now, you may ask a question, then how our body is coping up with that situation? So, we have some enzymes that actually works in acidic environment only. We have pepsin, we have renin. They need actually acidic environment. So that is good for us. That is good for us. But say any bacteria is coming in the stomach, then the bacteria can't survive in the stomach. That is because we have very, very low enzymes, low pH over there, and in that pH the bacteria automatically dies, or the functioning of the bacteria, the reactions which are there going on in the bacteria, they will stop, and hence the bacteria would not multiply. So that's again a barrier we are offering to a pathogen, right? So we are offering a barrier to a pathogen. That is again a very, very important thing. So we have enzymes, we have pH in the body. Say a pathogen enters through nose, we have our opening, right? External layers, we have external nostrils, we have. So say a pathogen is entering from the nose. How now how we protect ourselves? So don't worry, we have hairs inside our nose, so they filter out the air. Still the air goes, we inhale the air through the trachea. So inside the trachea we have cilia. Yes, again they are the physical structure that I would like to tell you, that we have physical structures which are actually protecting us. Within the trachea we have mucus as well. So from where we traps the pathogen, we will take the pathogen. So these are the barrier. This is now a second line of defense. You can now understand that why I'm telling it is a second line of defense, because the first line of defense we have the skin. If anyhow the bacteria or yes pathogen enters in the body, then this is a second line of defense, what it works. What else we have apart from this? So we have this third thing, which is what we call as temperature. So we have temperature. There is a change in temperature. Actually there is a change in temperature. I'm sure that you fall you have a fever sometimes. So why there is a fever? There is a complete physiology. We'll talk about that. Say a pathogen enters in our body, so the temperature raises of our body. This is because of two reasons. The one of the reason is that our cells are fighting with the pathogen, and in that temperature increases, and that temperature is actually good for us initially, because if the temperature raises, then even in the high temperature the enzymes of the bacteria would not work easily, or the bacterial physiology, bacteria can't tolerate that higher enzyme. But yes, there are bacteria which can tolerate a good heat or good amount of temperature, but the one which are infecting our body, they also survive at a normal temperature. So the body increases their temperature, the body raises the temperature, and that's how deactivate the pathogen. And yes, in that process our activity also affect. So that's why during the fever we feel, a little low, a little lazy, and that is because our activity also get down when the temperature raises. So this is a third thing, that's the body is, protecting itself from the pathogen. So we have, then say suppose if pathogen is there, the pathogen, survive the first line of barrier, the pathogen also survive the second line of barrier. Now the question is that what else we have, what else we can offer that pathogen. So now we have the third line of defense, what can be activated, that is called a cellular barrier. But directly, I'll come to the cellular barrier. Let me give you just a review once of the innate immunity, and that how the pathogen also protecting us, not pathogen, how we are protecting ourselves from the pathogen. So let's now talk about it. So let's now talk about this thing. So this picture or this slide is actually concluding a lot of things. So first of all, let's start with that. Say we have a pathogen, and say this is the pathogen we have. Now the pathogen has to enter the body. Just now understand like that, please. The pathogen, the aim of the pathogen is that the pathogen has to enter in the body. The pathogen has to survive. The pathogen has to reproduce. That is the aim of the pathogen in the world, right? So the pathogen want to come here. But you know what is the bad news? The bad news is that we have the keratinized skin, and that is the bad news for the pathogen. The second bad news for the pathogen is that the bacteria are not only bad, so we have the good bacteria which already covers the skin of ours, right? So yes, we have the good bacteria. Now till the time these good bacteria are there on the surface, the bacteria would not provide the surface area to for the attachment of the bad bacteria. All I mean to say is that our skin is also harbored by the good bacteria. So when we have the good bacteria, then there is a no space so that the pathogenic bacteria can attach. So that is a good bacteria we have. So that is one of the aid in the immunity. So that is what we call as beneficial bacterias. And yes, we do have in our body. So that is the first line of barrier. So we can say that pathogen is providing the first, this is skin, not pathogen, sorry. So this is providing the first line of barrier. I would like to make these discussions so simplify, guys, that everyone can understand them easily. So first line of defense, right? Then the mucous membrane, or this is also comes under the first line of defense rather. Then come the body secretions such as lysozyme, gastric gland. Gastric gland are the glands which are present in the stomach and in the GIT region, and they make the acidic environment of the GIT. So they have variety of cells within the gastric gland. So we have one of the cell what we call as oxantic cell, and we have that is also called as parietal cell actually. So parietal cell, and this parietal cell secrete lysozyme. Oh, I'm saying lysozyme. So this secrete HCl, hydrochloric acid. So it secrete HCl. Let me write it: hydrochloric acid. So this hydrochloric acid is coming from the oxantic cell, right? Then we have the cilia, in the various part, say in the respiratory tract. Say that is a cilia. We have other than that the things we will talk about in the future lectures. We have defense in proteins and other things as well. Okay, but say the pathogen invade all the barrier, and now the pathogen is very happy. Why the pathogen is very happy? Let me tell you, because the pathogen is having the fun. The pathogen is having the fun. right? And the pathogen make itself is the pathogen is a gymming person, well, gymming a pathogen, right? So the pathogen has a good biceps and triceps. Now the pathogen is very happy because pathogen is thinking that the pathogen has entered in our cell. Now a fight will start, because even if the second barrier fails, our body has the third line of defense, what we call as cellular barrier. And yes, 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 guys, you are catching me right. These are the cells we have called WBCs. So yes, now it's a time for WBCs to be activated. So the third line of defense what we have in our body is the cellular barrier. So that is the cellular barrier we have. It has only one eye, but it is keeping a very good eye on the pathogen, right? It has only one eye, and it is very very big teeth this WBCs has. And these are, let me make the blood as well. So these are bloody teeth. Why? Because they have already eaten a lot of pathogens. This is now what we are going to study, that the third line of defense we have is the cellular barrier. Actually, I'm excited to discuss the cellular barrier, but I'm little worried that from where I have to start. Cellular barrier, WBC itself is a very, very big unit. And yes, we will talk about each and every kind of WBC, say neutrophil, macrophage, lymphocytes, have a very separate discussions. So what is my purpose is that, like I have started the innate immunity, so I will then proceed with the cells of the immunity. Say we have a discussion of neutrophils, that how neutrophil works, and so then we would understood that how macrophages work and the T cells work, how the B cells work. That is, I want to go ahead, right? So that is a cellular barrier. So all I want to say is that we have the first two barrier of the innate immune system is the first line of defense, that is a skin and a mucous membrane. Second line of a defense, that is body secretions, the pH in the body, the temperature of the temperature change. And even if the bacteria survive or the pathogen survive here, we have the third line of defense, what we call as WBCs or cellular barrier. So this is cellular barrier, right? Now the cells and comes and attacks. It is very good that if we talk about the various kind of WBCs today, or rather here we are understanding the classification of WBC, because it is very important. Once we understood the classification, then for the future lecture it become easy for us to understand the immunology lecture. So right now I'm going to classify the leukocytes for you. So let's talk about the WBCs. WBCs, they are also called as leukocyte, right? I have a detailed lecture on the WBCs in uh, hematology lectures, so you can watch them as well. Well, so WBCs are classified as granulocytes and agranulocytes and agranulocytes. Granulocytes are those cells which have granules in them. So basically they have granules in them. So they have granules in them. And what about agranulocytes? They do not have granules. So they do not have granules. So they do not have granules. So that is the first thing. Now we can further classify the WBCs as, so we can further classify WBCs, granulocyte into other different kind of cells. So wait, just yeah. So granulocytes are of different type. We have what other types of granulocytes we have? So we have neutrophil, we have neutrophil, we have basophil, we have eosinophil. These are the three main type of granulocytes. Neutrophil, why they are called as neutrophil, again basophil, why they are so called, we have a great discussion in the hematology lecture, right? Depending on that dye, what kind of dye they are staining with, so we have the name. Say eosinophil are also, you may also found them by the name of acidophils. Don't worry, we will talk each and every cell in a very very great detail. Okay, fine. Agranulocytes, we have two kind of agranulocytes. So we have monocytes and we have lymphocytes. We have lymphocytes. The good thing is that I'm just making this discussion a little restricted, but we have, say, we have varieties of WBCs. We are not talking right now here, right? We have varieties of WBC. So we will talk about, say, about these cells when we actually come into the discussion. As I told you, these are the basic lectures which are going on, right? So these are the monocytes. Now, monocytes are the cells, they do not have granules, right? And they are actually identified by their type of nucleus, right? So a monocyte, basically, it is the only which transform into macrophage. So monocytes and macrophage, although both are the same thing, just the only difference is that monocyte is there in the blood, and when this monocytes comes into a tissue, it transforms into a macrophage. So that's the difference. How I remember, I'll let you know. I remember the way a macrophage is wearing a headphone. Actually, it has a horseshoe shaped nucleus. So I'll show it to you, don't worry. But it has a horseshoe shaped nucleus. So it is something like that. If I draw for you, so the nucleus look like that. So I consider this like, say, the monocyte is wearing a headphone. So that's the way I learned this. Well, we'll talk about it. The lymphocytes, again, of two types. So we have a smaller cell and a big cell, or rather we can now here talk about like that. We have T lymphocytes, we have B lymphocytes. They are just not like that. We have then their various branches. T lymphocytes are of various type. We have helper T cells, we have cytotoxic T cells, we have natural killer cells, and varieties of T cells. So B lymphocytes. And the discussion is really going to be very, very great and very, very depth and clinical discussions, right? So B lymphocytes. Now, that is just a classification of WBC. If we classify a WBC, then it can be a granulocyte, means it has a granules. A granulocyte means it do not have granules. Now, in the granulocytes, we have neutrophil, basophil, eosinophil. In the agranulocytes, we have monocytes and lymphocytes. The monocytes are the one which reside in the cells, blood cells, or in the blood plasma. And when they oozes out from the blood and they migrate to a tissue, they are the same cells which are called as macrophage. Similarly, and we will talk about the lymphocytes, so don't worry. Say one more name, you may have heard about the mast cells. What are mast cells? So mast cells are nothing but basophils. It is a belief of the scientist, although some of the scientists consider that basophils and the mast cells are the different things. But for our discussion, what we say is that basophils are the cells which are circulating in the blood, and mast cells are the tissue basophils, right? So what we would say is that circulating mast cell, we can say basophil, or rather the cells which are there in the circulation, they are basophil, and when the same basophil come into the tissue, they transform into mast cell. So for our discussion, we will keep basophil like that, okay? But yes, there are scientists who believe that basophil and mast cells are the two things. Research is still going on, and if till the time we'll start the mast cells or basophil, if I come to know something new, then of course I'll discuss it over there, right? I'll also keep researching. So that is the type of WBCs. Now you can see here. Can you see the nucleus of the monocytes? That's what we are talking about. Well, let me change the color and let's talk about. So neutrophil, they are a phagocytic cells. They are a kind of phagocytic cell. Understood? Phagocytic cells are those cells uh, which eats the pathogen, which eat the pathogen. So we'll talk about these things, right? Well, so they kill bacteria, fungi, and foreign debris. They are just a phagocytic cells. You may have also heard of something called as APCs, antigen presenting cells. Don't worry, what do I mean by antigen presenting cell? Let me tell you, but let me explain this thing. So we have this monocyte. This is also a phagocytic cells. Please remember this thing, very, very important. And I think I am hiding this image. Yes, I am correct. So let's hide myself first. Okay. So you can see here the varieties of cell. Fine. So they are also phagocytic in nature. Then we have eosinophil. You can see the granules in them, right? Although monocyte do not have granules, but it is visible here. Then we have lymphocytes. You can see lymphocytes do not have granules. So lymphocytes are again of two types, T and B lymphocytes. Then these are basophil. They are, how they are actually involved in allergic response, or actually they cause allergic response, or they protect us from allergy. That we will see in the discussion of allergy. So don't worry, we have allergy discussion very soon, probably on the time when we discuss the basophil, right? And then we have eosinophil, so they kill the parasite usually, and they are also involved in allergic reaction, right? Well, so this is just a WBC. Now coming back to the slide, what do you think if I have to classify that how many WBCs what are written here are participate basically in the innate immunity, and how many WBCs participate in acquired immunity? So for that discussion, you can learn like that, that these are the cells of innate immunity, these are the cells of innate immunity, and these are the cells of acquired immunity, that what we call as adaptive immunity. What is adaptive immunity? I think I have to talk about adaptive also in a very brief in the first lecture, but don't worry, I'll talk about it later, probably in the next lecture. So adaptive immunity, right? Now guys, let me come back for a minute again. Yeah, okay, just if I ask you a question that do these two immunity are of different kind, or simple, let's change the question. Is it like that the first we are protected from innate immunity, then acquired immunity come into play? Actually, for the studying purpose, how? Okay, I was hiding that content as well, lymphocytes, right? But anyway, let me hide myself again so that you can see the complete content. So well, are the innate and acquired immune system are the two different immune system? Answer is no. Actually, they work in a harmony, they work simultaneously together, right? Please don't be confused like that, that innate or acquired are the two different thing. No, they are not two different thing. The only thing is that how we are explaining that concept, how we are understanding innate and acquired immunity, that is where is the problem many students face. Even the same thing I have seen during my undergraduate day when I was a student of immunology. I thought of that kind of thing, that okay, innate is a one, acquired is a one, and I was really confused in the my undergraduate day. I thought like that, okay, it is a first innate which come into the play, and when innate gone, then acquired come. No, it is not like that. Innate and acquired, they are working both on a same time simultaneously. Actually, innate immune system is, they should be there. Innate immune system should be there to activate acquired immune system, and then acquired immune system activate innate immune system. And don't worry, I'll discuss it this in detail as well. And yes, the next lecture would be 15 minutes or 20 minutes. I just give for this discussion that how innate and acquired immune system work in a harmony. And let me tell you, they are not two different things. And the next lecture is going to be very important. I just request you can miss any lecture, but don't miss the next lecture. This is the most important lecture in the entire immunology. If you have something to learn in the entire immunology, that would be my next lecture, right? Okay, fine. Well, but yes, for the cells, the two main cells which participate in adaptive immunity are the T and B lymphocytes, whereas the other cells are the participators of innate immunity. So these are the cells. Now, let's talk about once more that the entire discussion. So we talked. So this is something which is for the innate immunity system. So this is for the barriers. This is the different kind of barriers our body is offering. So we have tears in our saliva. We have discussed that. So it wash away the irritating substance and microbes. Lysozyme kills many bacteria. We have discussed. Saliva is there in the mouth. It washes microbes from teeth and mucous membrane of the mouth. Right? Skin, it provides a physical barrier to the entrance of any kind of microbe, and hence I'm talking that innate immunity is a non-specific immunity. Right? Coming to the respiratory tract, then mucus trap organisms. We have cilia, which sweeps away the trapped organisms. Right? We have stomach having the low pH, and acid kills again microorganisms. Right? Then we have the bladder, urine wash microbes from urethra. In the large intestine, normal bacteria inhabit there, keep the invaders in check. Yes. So we have a good bacteria, as I told you, in the small and a large intestine, and they check the growth of, they inhibit the growth of harmful bacteria as well, right? Apart from this, coming back to the skin again. So acid pH discourage the growth of microorganisms. Sweat, oil, and fatty acid secretions kill many bacteria. So can you think about this? That what kind? what level of protection we have, what level of protection nature provided us. And can you think about that, how a pathogen is, that much strong that even after having that much protection in our body, the pathogen is actually invading us. So this is where is the important thing you must aware of. Well, well. So as I discussed in the beginning, I will use the same diagram in the next lecture, right? Because I told you na, that we have the innate immune system and we have the adaptive immune system. Is the two different immune system? Then answer is no. But what are the cells of the innate immune system? So we have dendritic cell. Now you may ask, what are dendritic cell? As I told you, we have different kind of WBCs. So we'll talk about these with the discussion. So dendritic cells are a kind of macrophage actually. So macrophage are of different type. We will talk about it. We have natural killer cells. We have eosinophil, monocytes, neutrophil, macrophage, mast cells, and then what are the complement protein we'll talk about. Then in the adaptive immune system, we have T cells, we have different kind of T cells, then we have B cells. These B cells produce immunoglobulin, that is antibodies. And then we have something which is common in innate and adaptive immune system, is one which is called as macrophage. So where we have, yes, so it is common. I'm putting a star here. I think this is how I make star. Well, so macrophage is there in both innate and adaptive. And yes, T cells, one of the T cell is natural killer cell, is also involved in both innate and acquired immune system. Probably you might not get this discussion right now. It can be difficult for you to understand, but you will understood it, don't worry. So last but not least, we have immune system, two branches, innate and acquired. This is also called as acquired, right? Innate, we have the barriers. So we have physical barrier, skin, cuff reflex, tears, mucosal layer, stomach acids, we have talked about it. In the phagocytic cells, then we have macrophages, monocytes, neutrophils are phagocytic. Natural killer cells are actually not phagocytic. They are not phagocytic. Well, but there is an importance of the natural killer cells in the body. Dendritic cells are a kind of macrophage, hence they are phagocytic. So when we say macrophage actually, so macrophage are different kind. Say in the liver we have Kupffer cell. So I'll come back to that discussion, don't worry. Coming to the adaptive, so we have T lymphocytes, again different kind of T lymphocytes. We have helper T, suppressor T, cytotoxic T, B lymphocytes, then clonal B cells and memory B cells. What are these cells? We will talk about it, right? What do I mean by these clonal B cells, memory B cells and other cells? So don't worry, we will talk about it. Let me come back for one more minute. Okay. Uh, so the end conclusion is what? It's almost 42 minutes, 43 I think so. So the conclusion is that we have the two arm of immunity, innate immunity and acquired immunity. Innate immunity we have discussed in detail. So in the innate immunity we have barriers. So first line of defense, second line of defense, third line of defense, and of course we discuss the WBCs. Now in the next class, what we do first, we will understand that how innate and adaptive are interrelated. Then from the next to the next lecture, we will start from the cells of the innate immune system, and I would like to start the lecture with uh, neutrophils. So we will first talk about the neutrophils, right? That would be the pathway. Or if something you want to suggest me, that because these lectures are going on, I'm just recording it and uploading it, right? So if you want that we have to start with some other topic, you can tell me in the chat box. Okay. Next lecture is very important. I request everyone, please do not miss it, because in the next lecture we would exactly we will understand that how the innate and acquired immune systems are interrelated with each other. So hope the discussion would be helpful for you. So that is the discussion for today's class. Thank you.